Hello, everybody. I think that we are going to start this webinar. So welcome on board, and thank you for being here and to allow us to help you better. So first of all, I would like to give an overview of the agenda of this webinar. It's a 2-hour webinar. We first will remind you some guidelines to follow this session and to be able to comment or to pop your question. Vincent will do that. After that, we will have a welcome note from Richard Gilmore from the European Commission, the DEFIS. And then we will have several presentations. First of all, Tina Silovic will present an overview of the Copernicus Marine service and will give some example of use cases in the frame of the implementation of European directives. Then we will have a demonstration of our visualization tools. And after that, we will have a kind of co-designing part of this webinar to show you what we have understand from your preliminary needs. And we will have also, we will give you feedback from the questionnaire you have fulfilled just before the event. And then we will have a general discussion, and we'll listen to your comments and questions. Vincent?
Yes, hello everyone. I am Vincent Legros, Event and Marketing Officer at Mercator Ocean International, and I will give you some guidelines concerning the Q&A session. So as Muriel told when she was presenting the agenda, we will have a 40-minute discussion at the end of the presentation, and we will use a Slido for you to ask questions and to be able to answer questions as well. So to ask your question, you simply go to slido.com and type the code here, 1928800, or you can as well use your mobile phone by scanning the code. At the same time, in the chat box, we will share the direct link to the questions. Okay, so we want so the most relevant question will be answered during the Q&A session. We encourage as well the participants to answer the question. Okay, so to answer the question at the same time, we want you, we can enable you to open your microphone and camera, because we want this session to be very interactive and the audience is quite qualified for the topic. So during the panel discussion, please raise your hand and you will be able to debate with the panelists. Okay, there is already question on the Slido, question asked from the panelists. So I encourage you to answer this question through the chat box. Not that if we won't have the time to answer all the questions, we will give you a post-event report where all the questions will have answers, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. Well, now it's time to have the welcome note from Richard Gilmore. Thank you, Richard, for being with us today. I let you the floor.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So thank you very much, Muriel and Vincent. So my name is Richard Gilmore from DG DEFIS. This is the from the unit responsible for Earth observation. So this is the unit that is effectively responsible for the Copernicus program and its implementation. So thank you, Mercator, for giving DEFIS this opportunity to introduce the session. Basically, I'd just like to say a few words to place the session into context. And essentially, I want to highlight a couple of points. So the first point I want to make is the importance of user uptake, and therefore the importance of events such as this one to ensure that Copernicus can better serve policy needs. And then secondly, I'd like to describe a few new tools that have been introduced to strengthen user uptake for policy. So with regard to the importance of user uptake, I think probably the easiest way to illustrate this is to simply refer to the very recent conclusions of the Competitiveness Council of the 10th of June. So this took place just over a week ago. So there was a dedicated session on space and Copernicus. And in these conclusions, the member states set out a vision for 2035 and provided political guidance on the future of Copernicus. And in fact, these conclusions had, I would say, quite a lot to say about user uptake. So the document itself is relatively short. It's just 9 pages long, but the word user, if you look, is cited 28 times over these 9 pages. So it's really an important issue for member states. I don't have time here to go through all of the points that relate to user uptake, but I will just highlight a couple which seem to be particularly relevant with respect to the goals of today's meeting. So firstly, the member states recalled again that user uptake is a top priority and that the involvement of member states is of central importance. And furthermore, that the future evolution of Copernicus should be based on the expression of requirements by the users themselves. And secondly, the member states also recalled the need for dedicated support to policy areas. And they actually gave a few specific examples of policy areas where they thought this was particularly relevant. So the Arctic, coastal areas, cultural heritage, and environmental compliance. So I think you can see from this list of keywords that the Marine Service is directly important for all of these areas that have been highlighted. And the conclusion that I have from that analysis of this council meeting is that the event organized today is clearly an important contribution towards these user uptake goals. So the other point I wanted to highlight is that the Commission is seeking to strengthen its user uptake activities. So as you know, Copernicus already has a number of actions underway to address the different aspects of user uptake. So first and foremost, we have representation of the member states in the Copernicus User Forum. But there are also many other dedicated activities for user uptake, such as the Copernicus Relays, the Copernicus Academy, the Framework Partnership Agreement on Copernicus uptake, and various national fora. Also, the Copernicus services themselves have dedicated activities. So events like this one today, organized by Mercator. And we should also not forget that we have Wikio, which is important for the marine community in particular, and is a tool to make information easier to access for policy users. So to strengthen these existing activities, several new resources have been developed at the start of this MFF to improve user support. So the first of these is the USPA agency. This will provide dedicated support for market uptake in the downstream sector. The Copernicus services will also coordinate closely with USPA to ensure maximum synergy and coordination with outreach activities to the national core users. The second I want to highlight is something called thematic hubs. So a thematic hub is actually part of a Copernicus service itself and represents a new way of bringing information together to better serve users in given policy areas. It's designed as a kind of a one-stop shop to present all existing Copernicus products for a particular policy area and make these products easily available in one place. So it's important to mention today, it's important to mention this thematic hub today because the Commission has actually just launched the first two thematic hubs. So there's one on health, which will be coordinated by ECMWF, and there is one on coastal zones, which will be coordinated by the Copernicus Marine Service, so by Mercator Ocean. We will be developing a proof of concept and a pilot service for coastal zones over the coming months, and we will inform the user community when this is ready to launch. Then still on the subject of new tools for user uptake, so last but not least, the Commission has recently launched the Knowledge Center for Earth Observation, so more commonly referred to by its acronym, the KCO. This tool has been developed to specifically address core users inside the Commission and is jointly run by DG JRC and DG DEFIS. The main goal is to improve the support of Copernicus for specific EU policy areas. And to do this, it will gather needs and develop requirements to support EU policies and also identify areas that will require research and development to prepare for the future. So I think it's important to highlight in the case of this KCO that even if it is a tool to address the needs of core users inside the Commission, it can also interface with user uptake activities outside the Commission. And indeed, one aim would be to exploit the synergies with user uptake activities with national core users and to share best practices. And so for this reason, we're very keen to follow events like this one and to understand how we can develop coordination between the national and EU policy needs. And I might also just point out that there are a couple of colleagues here today from JRC who are specifically responsible for the Knowledge Center for Earth Observation. So they'll be following the discussion closely and available in case of any questions. So I think I'll stop here and let you get on with the main goal of the meeting today. So thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful meeting.
Thank you, Richard, for this the nice overview of the priorities and the importance of the user uptake. Now we will have the first presentation from Tina from Mercator, who will give you an overview of the Copernicus Marine Service and present you some use cases. I'll let you the floor, Tina.
Hello, Muriel. Thank you, and thank you for introduction, and hello everyone. My name is Tina Silovic, and I'm working in a market development department, where one of our main goals is to increase user uptake of Copernicus Marine services. So I start with next slide, Vincent, please. I start with this nice image of Copernicus program. So Copernicus program started 7 years ago. It was launched by European Union, and the main objective of the program was to develop and implement an operational Earth observation program for Europe, which would include in situ observation as much as satellite observation. So there are several thematics that this Copernicus program is divided on. So there are like atmosphere monitoring, land monitoring, climate change. And there are a lot of producers from different, lot of data providers. It's a whole network that are coming from the different monitoring, forecasting, research centers. And there are also institutions such as Mercator Ocean International who are handling dissemination of such data. So Copernicus Marine Service is implemented by Mercator Ocean International. Next slide, please. Copernicus Marine portfolio really has like a huge amount of data. We normally divide it on blue ocean, white ocean, and green ocean. Blue ocean would hold anything that around physics, white ocean sea ice, and green ocean ocean biogeochemistry. And you can see the amount of parameters that are basically that are held under each of these thematics. Next slide, please. So here you can get more of an idea of the different sources the data is coming from. So there are in situ data, satellite data, and model data. The coverage also differs in a temporal and spatial level. So in a temporal level, the coverage goes from multi-year, meaning that up to 45 years ago, there is a real-time data, and they are forecast 10 to 2 days. All is covered for blue ocean, white ocean, and green ocean. And as I also mentioned before, there are in situ satellite and models available for really huge geographical area, including global ocean, Arctic Ocean, Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea. And all of this is available from one single point of access called Marine Copernicus EU, which is the website. Next slide, please. So there is a just single access point to the Marine Copernicus service data. Here you can just have a brief insight how this website looks like. So it's online. There are like over 300 scientifically qualified products. The whole service is user-driven, so we are really trying a lot to make things more accessible, to increase the user uptake, which also includes evolution of the service itself as well as the products too. There is one common format for all the data, and that's CDF. And the most important thing is that everything is open and free. We also organize a lot of, aside of having user support, there are a lot of webinars, trainings, and hackathons that are basically also increasing the level of the user uptake. And it's also an important way to make all these services more visible. Next slide, please. Also, the whole data can be visualized in a really nice tools that later on are going to be shown to you by my colleague, Tony. And these tools are available from the beginner level up to pro level, meaning doesn't matter what kind of level you are in visualization tools. They are really adjusted to be used by everyone. Next slide, please. The Copernicus Marine Service also supports all sectors of the blue economy, and we divide the data according to user requirements in 12 blue markets that are grouped by 3 pillars of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals: environment, society, and economy. And also we tried to make these use cases around these particular blue markets. So you can see on the website of Copernicus Marine Service, when you go to to each one of these blue markets, you can see the explanation of each market and also additional use cases that are respond to these markets. But also some use cases cover more than one blue market, so to say, because they are quite close to each other. Like very often it happens that ocean health is also important for the coastal services, and sometimes some of these events are also inducing some extremes and impose some hazards in the area. Next slide, please. So today we are a bit more focused on the policies, ocean governance, and mitigation. And the idea is to show you a bit more about key environmental variables that are supporting different policies. Here on this infographics, you can see some of the available variables that might be of your interest, such as heat content, temperature, sea level rise, ocean currents. And there are just few of policies mentioned here on this infographics, which I believe all of you know, like Marine Spatial Planning and Marine Strategy Framework Directive. But there are also many other that the same data can obviously support. Next slide, please. So this is one way, just to show you a bit briefly how Copernicus Marine Service can support Marine Strategy Framework Directive. There are many descriptors, as you probably know, that needs to be followed within this directive. And in Copernicus Marine Service, there is a lot of data that can help a bit. So with, for instance, just as an example, eutrophication can be covered by chlorophyll A, by primary production. Contaminants, it's really important to be aware of the currents and follow the models of the currents to be able to predict where the particular pollutant will go and how to mitigate this. Next slide, please. And to go back to use cases, so this is the side of the website of the Copernicus Marine Service where you can look around a bit about the use cases. You can also look through the use cases by the starting point of the each blue market itself. But also, if you can see on the third search bar under the markets, you can also choose different markets, and in a search bar you can also look it up by particular keyword. And these use cases also, there are two levels: use cases demos and use cases books, and use cases in general. So books you can download in the PDF by particular region, market, some use cases. And use cases demos are particular use cases that are basically supported and funded by our user engagement tenders that we have from time to time. Next slide, please. So to go briefly through some of the use cases, I try to pick some of them that are really connected to the marine policies. So one of them is CFAS. So they made the CFMAT, which is a suite of marine assessment tools that is tend to support policy questions in regard to hydrographical conditions, water quality, eutrophication, biodiversity, marine food webs. And here on this slide, you can see a screenshot from the website. So you can obviously see much more from the website how they're using a temperature, suspended particulate matter, salinity, or any other variables, parameters from the Copernicus Marine Data Service. Next use case that I would like to present is Reticus Marine. It's also doing support to European Union Marine Strategy. It's an innovative service that covers, that is trying to cover water quality, algal blooms, aquaculture, and fisheries. The main parameters that they're using is a chlorophyll A, temperature, turbidity, water transparency, and here is also the screenshot from their own website. The data that they provide is in real time with the 1 kilometer resolution, and they are intermediate user. So they are using Copernicus Marine to develop particular business solutions around this particular workflows of water quality in the particular area. The next use case, it's called Impressive. So they are trying, and it's impressive, they're trying to make a real-time management of marine pollution events, but what they're trying to do is not only take in consideration satellite data, but also drones and unmanned autonomous vehicles. And they're trying to be upfront with what is happening in the water with this particular pollution events, such as wastewater discharge or oil spill, and to provide to authorities the position in a real time of such event, and then also try to model how it's going to go. So the main thing that would be useful for main parameter for wastewater will be ocean color, near real time data, and sea surface temperature. For oil spill, also a bit more about currents. So at this time, they have one pilot, which is in Taranto port in Italy, but they plan to develop two more, one in La Luz port, Gran Canaria, and the other one at Rafina port in Greece. One of the next use cases that I would like to present is similar to this one in terms of pollution, tracking the pollution, but this one is trying to track marine litter in coastal areas. And they're also using a different combination of different tools, video monitoring, satellite imagery, and modeling to track the marine litter and model its whereabouts. Next slide, please. This use case is it's a kind of initiative. So there are a lot of members in this TMED-NET initiative that covers many public research institutions and NGOs. So they're working in a nearshore and coastal zone in Mediterranean Sea. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to observe particular areas of Mediterranean Sea for the time being, get more insights in the coastal thermal regimes, warming trends, marine heat waves, and also biological responses to such events, which includes different mortality events, but also they're trying to follow the abundances of native warm and cold affinity fish species, and also introduction of some tropical fish species that are finding with this global heat waves that are finding place here that are managing to survive. And obviously they're trying to model how the future is going to be. The next slide, please. So this is yet another example of integrated monitoring of the ocean, which is the use case developed to support Portugal government for ocean monitoring. Next slide, please. And I will finish with Sea Vetra. Sea Vetra is a use case that is supporting Maritime Spatial Planning European Directive. So they are a near real-time integrated system for monitoring and conservation and observation of Mediterranean marine ecosystem. What they're trying to do is collect the data from different sources and provide different stakeholders and different end users with dedicated tools. And on their website, you can basically choose from looking at observations, looking at models, and you can choose from different layers, and through these different layers, you can see which data basically would suit you more. They're also focused on the movement of cetaceans in the Ligurian Sea, and this kind of information they're getting from ships of opportunity, and they're gathering all this information to know more about their whereabouts. And with this slide, since it's a kind of showing their visualization tool, I'm going to finish my presentation and let the floor for my colleague Tony to explain you a bit more about visualization tools. Thank you for your attention.
Tony, it's your turn, please.
Yeah, hello, good morning, everyone. So I'm Tony Jolibois. I'm front-end manager of the Copernicus Marine service. I'm gonna show you the My Ocean viewer. I mean the Copernicus Marine main viewer. And maybe if we are 10 minutes late, I will just about the in situ attack dashboard. I don't know if we will have time to have a demonstration on it. Anyway, so the main goals of ocean data visualization tools, it's an opportunity for users to discover the Copernicus Marine catalog by displaying maps of the ocean parameters over the 4 dimensions. So of course, longitude, latitude, depth, and time. It has to be noted that you don't need to download data into a specialized software, so it's very accessible for every user. Even if you are not a specialist on ocean data, you can just connect to your web browser through a computer or a mobile device, and you can discover this data. And last point is that you don't need to be registered to access the viewer. However, you must be registered to download the data, the data in NetCDF format on your computer if you need it. So I've recorded yesterday a short video for this demonstration of the Copernicus Marine viewer to avoid wasting your time with potential demo effects. So I'll let this video, and I'll take you just after that. Here we go. So to reach the Copernicus Marine viewer, the best way is to reach the main website, marine.copernicus.eu. And in this homepage, you have directly different links. Here, the ocean state report, the monitoring indicators, and here the ocean visualization. So the dedicated page on the different viewers provided by the Copernicus Marine service. 3 viewers dedicated to different user profile, depending on the level of knowledge you have of the ocean. So the My Ocean Learn is for very beginners. The My Ocean Learn present pre-generated videos of 6 variables of the ocean. My Ocean Lite is a real interactive tool, but it presents you only 9 variables of the ocean, and you don't have the full functionalities of the other and final viewer, which is the My Ocean Pro, which is the most appropriate viewer for today for this marine policy event. So here you land into the default map of the viewer. Okay, no, we don't reach exactly the default map. It's interesting because it's a functionality of this viewer is that even if I had the private navigation, I have here the last session. I previously selected this layer, and when you come back to the viewer, you come back to your session with the previously selected layers. So, but here today I want to show you how to add layers into these viewers. So if you don't mind, I will remove these layers so that no layers have been added. And then you click on this add layer button. Then this is the catalog interface of the Copernicus Marine Service, showing you more than 170 products. And in each product, you have several layers. So it's a very large number of layers, so maybe it can be a bit confusing sometimes to get the good information you are interested in. But anyway, you have different filters to be able to reach the good information. Free text search and different criteria here, the universe, the main variable, the community, the area, etc. So for example, for this demonstration, I can have temperature here on the global ocean. Okay, 18 products. Okay, so this one, this first product, I want to have details on that product. Okay, this is the near real-time model, and I want to add to map. So add to map, clicking on add to map, and you land into this layers selection, which again can be a bit confusing since you have different temporal resolution, you have different level of information. So here the daily mean field updated daily. The seawater potential temperature, we add to map. Okay, this is our first visualization, and actually this is, I think, the default page of the viewer. So here you have the timeline where you can see the temporal coverage of the dataset going from January 2020 to now, to the current date. So if we reach, for example, the beginning of September 2021, okay. Of course, you can pan and zoom as you want, and you can go here. You can select the depth if it's applicable for this variable, and this is the case for model output. You can go in the deep ocean here, and of course, the bathymetry is appearing here. Okay, let's focus today, if you don't mind, on Mediterranean Sea. Okay, since this is global product, I will try to find a temperature not on global ocean, but dedicated to Mediterranean Sea. And maybe we can begin with numerical model. Okay, 3 products. Here you have the model forecast, the reanalysis, which goes in the past, and this is biogeochemistry product. So with a head to map, again, this selection of layers with different temporal resolution and different variables. So you can select the daily mean. Okay, here at the map. Okay. Okay, I have the 2 different layers. So this is the global one. I can show and hide the different layer. So the global one is this one, and the one dedicated to Mediterranean Sea is this one. So I remove this global layer. I zoom a bit. Okay. So here we are on the beginning of September. So the water is pretty hot this time. So we can parameter the palette to be able to see the distribution maybe more accurately. Okay. Okay. You can see now things. And a need can be, for example, to be able to see the region where temperature is between 18 and 22 degrees. Let's refresh. Oh, wow, it's a bit. And if you want only You see the region where the temperature is between 18 and 22. Okay. Is with this button clamped out of range value. And in between 20 and 24, okay, 24 and 28. Okay. And if I click again on this button, it will fill with the last color the palette. Let's come back to something more general. Here we go. And then we will add another layer. For example, primary production, and not numerical models, but satellite observation. Satellite observation, here we have 10 products, Sentinel-3. If we add to map, here you have different layers with geographical resolution and temporal resolution. So the 1 kilometer daily and add to map. Okay, let's see. Okay, if you are a bit lost in this selection of layers and you want some advices, really don't hesitate to click on the chat. You can contact here the service desk, and behind this team is very qualified and quite reactive. And if you have any question on the products, on the viewer functionality, etc., there is plenty of information, and also a team which who will answer your specific question. Okay, so CO2 potential temperature and chlorophyll can be nice here. So next functionality is to reach a point. Here, if you click on a point on the map, you have the different values of the layers you have selected here. So the chlorophyll and the temperature, the values on the point. And also you have different graphs. Here the time series of the chlorophyll, the time series of the temperature, where you can see here the seasonal signal, and the profile of the temperature on depth. Okay, just a comment on this little window of graphs. Of course, it's not very. I mean, it's a bit small, so it gets some. You can get some trends and some. You can discover information more than you can really analyze scientifically the data. It's one of our of best to improve these viewers to be able to make some really higher resolution graphs here. So if you want to discover other points of your area, you're welcome to generate different graphs here. Okay. And okay, you are pretty happy with this visualization, so you want to share it. So with this button share, you are able to copy a link, copier le lien, because you speak French, of course, copier le lien, and then when you send this link to a colleague or whatever, it goes directly to the exact situation here with the same graphs and so on. So it can be very useful to share information with colleague. Again, with this share button, you can share an image, sorry, with the different legend, and you can generate videos to, I mean, some animation on time with the start date and end date. Okay. And you will be able to download it on your computer. So okay, this video generation can be a bit long, so we don't have time today to wait for that. But you are aware that this functionality is available here. So let me show other functionality of this viewer here. You click on line here, and you can make something like that, a polyline. Click on escape, and it generates graphs showing you displaying the evolution of chlorophyll among this trajectory polyline, the chlorophyll, the temperature, and also the section. Here you have the trajectory and the depth. Can be useful. And last functionality, the area. Can draw an area, for example, here. Okay, escape, and it generates histograms with the distribution of the different layers you have selected. So here the chlorophyll, and here the temperature. You can have the distribution of the different values of the selected variables. So it can be interesting. What I wanted to show you also is that you can play with the cursor here on the little graph. If you want to see, for example, okay, that time step, you can see that the cursor here is moving, and also the map is refreshed. So yeah, thank you, Tony. No, it was a short presentation. I mean, 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes is a bit short to present all the functionalities of this viewer. So I let you discover this tool. And again, if you have a question, don't hesitate to contact the service desk by a chat or email. So maybe we have time to show quickly the viewer, the in situ viewer. Is it okay? You can see my screen? No? Okay. So yeah. Okay now? So from the main website of the Copernicus Marine service, you can click to access data here. And there is this in situ viewer. So it's a goal for us to integrate all the in situ data inside the main viewer. However, it's a hard work, and we have to quickly work on that at short term. But fortunately, the in situ producers of the Copernicus Marine service have developed. They know, of course, their data, and they have developed a viewer, an interactive viewer. So here it is. So very quickly, you can filter your data on area, the different area defined in the Copernicus Marine service. So here you have the last 30 days or last 5 years or since ever. Okay, here you can see profiling floats, moorings, drifting buoys, extra tight gauge. So you see, of course, the localization of this sensor, and it's possible by clicking on the trajectory you want to view the data. Could be very, very interesting to have this visualization tool, I mean, integrated in the main viewer, since it could be possible to intercompare the model data, the satellite data with in situ data. So yeah, really, it's an improvement we want to work on. However, the in situ data are heterogeneous, a bit complex. It's another word. So yeah, we will quick work on that. Yeah, here it's you can see here the profile of temperature, what we can yeah, here you have the different filters on the type of sensor with a profiler, drifters, moorings, extra. So okay, since we are late, maybe it's okay with that. So you remember the main Copernicus Marine Service website, access data, and in situ dashboard. So just the last, maybe the last slide, Vincent, for the next step. So next step for this viewer. So we want to work on improvement on the user experience to find data. So as you saw, and maybe in the demonstration, it's not so easy to find the data of interest among these 300 products. So we want to improve that. We want to provide high resolution graphs to replace these interesting but very small graphs, and to be able to visualize that data among the 4 dimensions. So it means time series, sections, Hofmöller, etc., etc. And as I said, the integration of in situ data into the viewer, just close to the satellite data and forecast data, it would be a very nice step. Thank you. I let the floor maybe to Muriel with the.
Okay. Thank you, Tony, for this short demo, but I guess that everybody has seen the power of these tools. Well, now I would like to make my presentation about what we think to improve for organizing the data better for you through different tools. This is the outline of my presentation. Well, as we have mentioned several times today, the Copernicus Marine Service aims at providing support to governments to implement the European marine policies, such as the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, but as well as the Maritime Spatial Planning and so on. We have several ways, ongoing ways to do that. The dedicated face-to-face meetings, as the one today, but as the one I've already made with some of you. We would like to co-design a kind of front-end dashboard web pages to improve the fitness for purpose selection of data. And we will have a discussion about all of this presentation with you at the end of my presentation. And I will present you the feedback of the survey we have sent you and that you have gently fulfilled. Just as a reminder to support marine policy, we aim at maintaining privileged links with regional sea convention and all the marine stakeholder community of the European countries. The objective of this link is to publicize the service and its developments as a whole, provide tools, data, as well as indicators. We want to collect your needs directly in order to develop the service and make the evolution be more efficient. And during the last months and the following months, we will organize different workshops to do this. In the international context, what we can say is that the European Commission is progressing toward the Sustainable Development Goals that are defined by the United States and 2030 agenda. The SDG 14, marine life, life below water, sorry, is the one for which we are more concerned, but it impacts as well all the other SDG. And the objective of the work we have to do is to translate the targets of the SDG into the ocean variables we have to monitor to implement the directives. So all these targets aimed at improving the environmental situation in the world, particularly the ocean health. And the main essential ocean variables we have identified is the temperature, the salinity, the pH, the oxygen, and the chlorophyll, but there is a lot of more variable. Next slide. Thank you. By now, several interactions are ongoing with the European Regional Sea Convention. We have several discussions with the community of OSPAR, the UNEP MAP, HELCOM, and the Black Sea Commission is coming. The Regional Sea Conventions have participated to the roundtable environmental policies during the kickoff meeting of the Copernicus 2 in February, thanks to them. And at the international level, Mercator Ocean International supports the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, in advising member states on how to move towards the SDG. Following up the discussion we have with some of the regional sea convention, we have made some demonstration of the Copernicus Marine Service, as we have done today, and of the MyOcean Viewer. We have discussed with representatives of the regional sea convention during the past months. And I would like to say that feel free to contact us if you need such a demonstration and dedicated one to have a small interview, face-to-face meeting. Maybe sometimes it's better. The needs have been collected in terms of data, visualization, and exploitation tools. And the main points we have identified are the needs of a guidance to select the most relevant and major products for marine policies. As Tony said, we have many data sets, many products in our portfolio, and it's not so easy to identify what are the best products to be used for the marine policies. The other point is having a tool that allows the pre-filtering of data with different criteria the user can apply, and these criteria could be saved as a reusable macro to facilitate the handling of all our data sets. Another need that has been expressed is the capacity of extracting data and computing indicators for sub-region, not only the region defined in the Copernicus Marine Service, the basin region, but the sub-region one. And there is also a need for advanced functionalities of the viewer. Well, this is a mock-up of what we have collected as needs for the multi-criteria selection. We would like to discuss this with you. It's a kind of a dashboard where the user can indicate the specificity of his needs in terms of temporal resolution, spatial resolution, temporal coverage. If he only want to have observations, data, or any kind of information, if it's possible to indicate a sub-area with latitude and longitude limits, or to import a shapefile, for example, to define a particular area. To be able also to indicate specific points where the data can be extracted, and not only to have to click on the map, and to select variables to be linked with external data such as EMONET, which include a huge quantity of complementary data for all this implementation of directives. And concerning the mapping functionality, maybe the user could ask for having basic metrics available, or to enter a threshold to be able to have some maps with very simple area, 4-column maps, for example, and the capacity to display variable metrics or indicator. I have also to mention that there is also a need to make the link better between variables and SDG. I think that member state knows the SDG or the directives, but sometimes it's sentences, it's not a viable indication. So maybe we could help to make the link between ocean variables and the targets. So what we imagine as a good tool is to have a kind of a resulting dashboard showing the compilation of a compilation of results, including the geographical area chosen by the user, some indicators integrated over this area, and an interactive map such as our MyOcean viewer to be able to customize particular maps. So at the end of this presentation, I do want you to give your feedback about this kind of dashboard because we will implement the evolution next. Next slide. Thank you. So the question to be answered, you can use a Slido to make your comments. Is this kind of tool in coherency with your expectation? tell us more about how to improve it? Would you need a document explaining how particular data are relevant for marine policy? Would you need information describing the selected data set? Because if you apply criteria, maybe you need some explanation on how the criteria have been applied. Now, I would like to give you a feedback on the survey we have organized during the last weeks. Thanks for answering this survey preliminary to this event. We have many participants, and it's very useful to have an overview of the needs or the priorities. So the next 4 slides showcase an overview of these results. And we can discuss after that if this is in agreement with your needs. First of all, and very briefly, this is the result concerning the main variable of interest. So on left, we have the list of variable related to physics. So there is a great focus on temperature and salinity. We knew that before, but not only the sea surface temperature, also the subsurface temperature. It means that the user need to have information about the evolution of the sea surface, but as well as below the surface. And in terms of biogeochemistry, the main variable are nutrients, ocean color, and oxygen. It's not a good surprise, but there is other variables to consider as well. Next slide. In terms of biology, it's much more complex since there is many information coming from very different sources. There is a great interest for marine habitats properties, for example, as well as the plankton, the phytoplankton. But also we must mention that the ocean sound is something very asked by the user. Many of the EOVs for biology concern external dataset. So we have already some link with EMONET. We have made some work with them, but I think that we have to reinforce the synergy with EMONET to make the data more easily accessible to the user, as well as the other European portals. I want to mention that some of these EOVs are already available in the Copernicus Marine Service, and others are dependent on EOVs for physics and biogeochemistry. For example, marine habitats, we have a data set of marine habitats, but marine habitats can be impacted by currents and extreme waves. So I wanted to indicate that we have data that can be useful to monitor the evolution of the marine habitats. Next slide. So there is the main gaps identified by you while answering this survey is that the community would try to implement the directives, to make the report, to assess the ocean S. The problem is that they have to deal with great multiplicity of data sources. And this is why we have to discuss with you to see how to facilitate your life to access more easily this data. For this, we would like to have more info about you concerning the other source you are downloading the data from. Which data are you downloading? Is this in situ data or other? what is the format, and how we can help. In terms of monitoring the trends, in the Copernicus Marine Service, we provide a large quantity of ocean monitoring indicators. These indicators help the governance to see what are the long-term trends of the ocean. And when we ask the question, which are the indicators, the climate change indicators you are interested in, the surface temperature and the ocean acidification were at the first level. The other question we have concerning the complementary information we could have in our viewer, maybe some static information such as the marine protected maps, and some information about the reverse discharge of interest for the user as well. What we would like to have as information from you is what are your expectations in terms of computing trends? A lot of users mentioned that they need to compute trends on subregions or seasonal trends or other things. It would be nice from you to give us much more details about your needs. We have also noticed that more information about extremes and their evolution is needed, and more explanation on how we compute indicators. Is it a need for you, or do you want information to compute your own? I know there is a lot of questions to answer. I guess we will have the time to debate about that. Well, now it's the time for the discussion. This list of bullet points try to summarize, but very summarize what we think about your needs. So the natural highest spatial resolution, it's needed. The longest period available for data. There is a preference for monthly data, but some of the user needs more high resolution in time for the data. There is a need for subregion processing, not only to extract the data, but to compute indicators. There is a need for more guidance to select the most relevant product for marine policies. The need for pre-filtering of the data. Some advanced functionalities we would like to discuss with you, and the adding of complementary layers or indicators to complete the service currently available. Let us know if you need a particular list of graphic and maps. We can try to see what is possible to do with our producers or internally at Mercator. So in conclusion, we have started 3 types of initiatives to support you better in the implementation of policies. Face-to-face meeting and trainings. Please contact us if you need it. Co-design of a front-end dashboard web page we want to discuss now with you. And the continuous collection of needs and feedback through surveys and interview. Do not hesitate to contact us for more information. We have a very powerful service desk, very reactive. And concerning the marine policy support, you can contact me directly as well. So this is the time for the discussion. You have in the Slido several questions. Now raise your hand if you want to answer some of them, and or write directly in the Slido. Vincent?
Yes, okay, as Muriel said, we invite you to raise your hand for the debate, and we are ready to answer your question and to debate. So do not hesitate to open your microphone before raise your hand, please. And you have the question through the Slido here. And please raise your hand and I give you the floor and you can debate with the lecturer. Thank you.
Maybe if nobody has raised a hand now, we can show the question and try to answer them. Ardvik Kremer, you
Yes.
can.
I have joined late, so sorry for that, but I followed that, Muriel. Thanks for that impressive presentation. I'm looking forward to learn more about our collaboration in Lisbon. But the key question, you mentioned something which is a tricky one, because from the United Nations Environment Programme, and notably also from the regional seas perspective, there is an appetite for countries or of countries to see what's happening within their areas of jurisdiction, or the regional seas as multilateral environmental conventions, many of them at least, have very specific needs. So from us as UNEP, as GEMS Ocean, with which we collaborate, you collaborate already, we would really want to learn more about how can we customize the focus of those data that we make available on a more constant, regular basis to and with the regional seas. Notably, they work on the basis of over 20 indicators, and which data informs those indicators best is one of the key questions. And the second one, technical in nature, how do we properly cut the cake in these exclusive economic zones and areas of national jurisdiction where they are contested? And that is a tough one, particularly when it comes to cutting out the data. And I have a third one, which is closest to my heart, and I will bring that up at our side event in Lisbon next week. How do we really come to an operational cookie cutter and link of data that are relevant in the source to sea context? You mentioned that in terms of river flows, and that's a tough one. And it's an important one, because river flows as well as atmospheric deposition dictate quite a bit of what populates the broader agenda of essential ocean variables. And since we are running a global monitoring system for oceans, for air and for freshwater, not being the spearhead in the monitoring realm, but as UNEP for our specific clients, the environmental communities out there, that is what really interests us most in this collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ardvik, for this interesting question. Indeed, we have in mind that the member states want to have their indicator for their coastal areas, for example. Talking about EEZ is a very tricky subject. We have begun a kind of brainstorming about how to do. We have two issues to solve. The first one is the limitation of the data, the uncertainty at the coast. So we have first to provide data with uncertainties to be able to provide indicators with uncertainties in these very thin areas. The second point is, the second issue is that talking about EEZ in terms of juridical I don't know the name of legal, or it's very complex, and to monitor, to be able to have some in situ observation in a particular EEZ is already complex, and by now there is no law on if a satellite observation is to be authorized or not. So, and for the computation of indicators, it's the same. The country have to accept that we compute something in in the sub-areas defined as EEZ. And more of that, the difficulty to define what is the EEZ is very complex. What I think, but it's only my opinion, is maybe it's very difficult to talk about EEZ by now. It's maybe too early, but maybe we could talk about a 20-kilometer coastal bandwidth and to give indicator of the 20-kilometer coastal zone, and not something that it is political, something like that. I don't know. We talk a lot with different people to have advice on that, and I think that it would be one of our main subject during the following months.
Yeah.
And concerning river flows, sorry, I didn't answer the second question. Yes, it's a very huge work to have operational information about rivers in a marine service. But maybe as a first step, we could add some climatological information about the rivers. Maybe it's not the same, but it can give some information about the seasonal cycle or the seasonal inputs from the river. And maybe this is a very small first step, but maybe it's a good one.
Yeah, important to know where UNEP can assist and also work with you to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arthik. Is there someone else who would like to share a comment or maybe ask a question? I would like to have your feedback about this kind of dashboard. So to pre-filter the data, it's I don't see if there is a raised hand.
Not yet, but maybe we can ask, we can answer some question about the viewer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So where is the question? It should be.
So, for example, I have a question, if I can take the floor, Vincent.
Yeah.
Can the existing visualization link in Ocean Viewer Pro can be embedded in another website as a widget? The answer is yes. Actually, from the viewer, you go on the share button. I don't know if you remember this share button from the catalog menu on the left of the viewer, and from this share button there is a share link, share image, share video, and the last tab is embedded viewer. So the code to be able to embed yeah. So yeah, you have to be logged in to do that action, but it's very simple to do that.
Thank you, Tony. I see Jelena Knežević who raised her hand. Jelena, you have the floor. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Tony. I'm very sorry that I cannot open my camera. I have some technical issues as of yesterday, and it is still not resolved. But at least I can just provide a few comments. First of all, to thank to Muriel, to the Copernicus team for making the efforts to support the work of the regional seas conventions. In this case. Of UNEP and Barcelona Convention. In this period, we are facing quite a comprehensive and challenging finalization stage regarding preparation of the Mediterranean 2023 quality status report. and we are struggling with data reporting, since still there are huge gaps in terms of real-time in situ data collected by contracting parties. Therefore, we were, with support of the Copernicus team, we explored opportunities how Copernicus satellite products and in situ data could be used to complement in situ data collected by the contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention. Currently, we are working on creating technical, let's say, preconditions to use some of this data. For an example, use of monthly data sets products regarding chlorophyll A. Because you know, we have many gaps, and we have this imbalanced distribution of the data reported by our contracting parties across Mediterranean region. So we had actually to adjust different assessment approaches to different type of data that are available. So in that respect, for us, it is very important to see how we can actually ensure use of the Copernicus data, especially given a huge discrepancy in between really even not modest technical capacities that we are having in UNEP map, and of course a great technical capacities and performance of the Copernicus services. So that the great challenge is actually how to ensure conversion of the data available within Copernicus to very modest technical capacities from the Secretariat. You know, these are really basic formats that we can use. So we count on further support. I know that we create additional additional workload, but it is the only way we could you know, make the use of the data. Our expert team, concretely regarding eutrophication, our scientist Robert Precali, he is also making efforts to interact with the Copernicus team in order to ensure conversion of the data in the format that can be used within softwares that we use for the statistical elaboration of data. So this would be just some overall remarks, but this is, I see the data, there are a lot of data, but the main challenge is actually how to interface, how to interrelate different technical capacities, for in this case of the Barcelona Convention Secretariat and our, let's say, components, to the use of really advanced products and the tools created within Copernicus service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jelena. Yes, we have been discussing a lot about all of the things you mentioned. Indeed, some of our data are not easy to handle, and sometimes the user in the regional convention use particular tools that are maybe not compliant with our formats. So we have explored, and we are still going to explore a solution to help you better. We have maybe I will give you in the chat the link to the plugin of QGIS, which is a geographical information system that can help to play with the different layer of information. We have developed a plugin able to explore the NetDF files better. So I'm going to share this link, and we are still working on simplifying the handling of our data. I know that Jelena, you would prefer to have some CSV data, but the data we are producing concern very huge data sets. So, and the one we have prepared for you was, I guess, almost 30 gigabytes. So maybe it's not the good solution for CSV. So thank you for all this remark. And I think that you're not alone with this kind of issue.
Thank you,
If I can
Muriel.
just say, Muriel, thank you very much. This is rather, lack of capacity on our side, and we are happy that we can count on, data available at your system and the assistance that we can receive from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yelena, and thank you, Muriel. So for the time being, I don't see raising hands in the assistance. So maybe I will give the floor again to a viewer question. Whoops, that is not working. Yeah, okay. So Tony, could the dashboard also allow extraction from specific location based on coordinates? This will allow comparison with in-situ data, for instance.
Okay, so it's not exactly a question on the viewer because it's on the dashboard. Sorry. So regarding this dashboard, this is the time of design in our side. So we are very pleased to access your needs and your specific needs, and yes, actually to allow extraction of data on a specific location. It will be clearly technically possible. Technically, it's possible to play with the 4 dimensions of the data however you want. So extraction can be done over longitude, over latitude, over depth and time, and you can play with these 4 dimensions really as you want. So now our need from Mercator side to be able to build the more efficient dashboard for you is to grab your needs on which extraction do you need, and this is one extraction on a specific location. Clearly, it's possible. I think that there is another question. There is another question for the dashboard. It would be great if data extraction could be considered according to depth layers. So again, no problem with that. We can extract data on a section, on a point over depth, time, extra. I think you understand the concept. So now several possibilities in playing with this 4 dimension. So too many possibilities. So we have to specify which graphs can be interesting for you, and that's this design phase we are currently in. But again, technically, there is no constraint on that, only possibilities.
I just would like to add a precision on what Tony said about the viewer and about this timeline. Effectively, when you want to extract data, you can select whatever you want. But in terms of visualization, we have always the long timeline, the whole timeline of the products, and that's what we discussed last week, because Tony is preparing the evolution of the viewers for the next months. So there will be some new developments, and this question of working on this timeline and to be able to cut it or to have only the timeline common for different products is something we're working on effectively. Maybe we could look at other question.
First, I want to give the floor to Mark Dowell. He raised his hand. Mark, the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, thanks. No, thank you very much for all of those presentations. I thought that was very useful. I'm working on this knowledge center on Earth observation that Richard mentioned in his introductory comments. So I thought I originally understood what the dashboard co-design was, the intention was, but now from some of the interventions in the last few minutes, I'm not sure, maybe I misunderstood. I had understood that originally it was a way of kind of filtering through all of the data sets to come up with the key data sets that were relevant to a specific user. Based on filling out the kind of the criteria in that dashboard. If it's also a way, in a sense, of capturing the needs through that process, then it occurred to me that maybe if it was maybe a bit more granular in certain areas, then you could almost do kind of a on-the-fly fitness for purpose assessment with what's in your archives with respect to that specific need. So I'd be interested if you see it, as I said, more as a way of filtering the 300, you know, all of the data sets that users have access to, so they can focus on what they're really interested in, or if you see it more generally as a way of kind of capturing needs and then kind of relating that in a fairly quantitative way to what exists in the archives, and therefore, as I said, doing almost like a fitness for purpose assessment. So that's one question I would have. The second is more an observation, and I'd just be interested if you can confirm that this is the case. At least in the case studies that Tina showed, I had the impression that at the moment there seems to be a lot of emphasis going towards kind of what you call the green ocean side, and so just to ask if that's kind of a correct reflection of where you see things going, and if so, how is the service kind of addressing this in evolution plans? And then finally, in his introductory comments, Richard mentioned about this new thematic hub on coastal areas, and I see and I'd be interested as well for some initial information of kind of where what you see as priorities and areas that hub would identify. I think Hartwig before mentioned this idea of source to sink type assessments. Is that something that the coastal thematic hub could address, and if not, what areas do you see kind of as being priority areas that you would address, I guess, based on past assessments of needs and requirements? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mark. You have many questions in your question, so I would like to be sure to have understand your question well. About the granularity of the dataset, you mean that if we apply a criteria, we do not allow the user to see the whole set of data set, maybe, but what?
Yeah, I just give you the example of the spatial resolution. At the moment, you have something like highest possible resolution, or, you know, I mean, if you were more prescriptive and gave different ranges, then that would allow you not only to kind of filter down the number of data sets available, but also to have a concrete assessment of what resolution is needed, and then to compare that to what's in the archives to see if there are products that are fit for purpose, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, I understand. What we think, actually, when we mention highest resolution, it's because when we ask the question to the user, they say we want the best resolution available. So that's why we we identify this as a need. But maybe the idea is not to hide all the other information, because it's not useful and maybe dangerous. But maybe we could highlight some data set with a level of maturity or a better fitness for purpose if coastal, for example, application are needed, but not to, yes, completely hide all the data set, but maybe to inform the user better about what is available and what is the most appropriate for a particular use.
Thank you, Muriel. Maybe Laurence Crenier, our Director of Market and Services at Mercator Ocean International, want to add something?
So, thank you, Vincent. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, I wanted to answer the second part of your question, Mark. So you were asking about the evolution of the Copernicus Marine Service and the portfolio. So first about the coastal area. So yes, we would like to improve our portfolio for the coastal area. But first, what we are going to do, as Richard mentioned, is that we are going to develop a proof of concept thematic hub for the coastal zones, where we are going to gather all the Copernicus data, so including not only the Copernicus Marine data, but the Copernicus data from other interested entities and other services within the same portal. So this is the first step that we are going to reach with this proof of concept. And then the second step is going to be to develop higher resolution data suitable for coastal zone application. So this is not going to be done yet on the short term, but this is really what we are aiming at in the next years, I would say. It's very hard to give a date when we are going to be able to provide with such high resolution coastal data, but we are also launching an initiative that is the National Marine Stakeholder Forum together with the member states, where we would like to work closely with member states on working with member states on developing high resolution coastal models along their national coast, and having those high resolution models dialoguing and exchanging in an operational way with operational boundary condition from the model we already have at basing scale level within the Copernicus Marine Service. So having the basing scale Copernicus Marine model, exchanging operational boundary condition with the coastal model already available within member states. And in the longer run, we would like, when it's going to be possible to do that, to provide and distribute those coastal, high resolution coastal model within our portfolio as well. So this is where we are going for the coastal. So there is a lot of work to be done together with the member states. So this is something we are starting now. And of course, we would like also to improve our portfolio for the green ocean, but also for the white ocean. So we are going to be working within several projects together with the Arctic Passion project, for example, which is a Horizon Europe project for the white ocean. And we are also involved or will be hopefully involved into several other Horizon Europe projects for the green ocean. And we are going to be working with those projects to inject what is being done within those projects into the Copernicus Marine Service in the future. So thank you.
Do you hear me? Sorry. Thank you, Laurence. So I see in the chat that Hartwig made a comment. Hartwig, do you want to share your thoughts before we pass to another question?
Just switching the right buttons. Yeah, I just thought I have spoken already, so I didn't want to take the floor again for very long. But this is Laurence, and I think the coastal part that really connects between the ocean forcing, the land-based forcing, and also the atmospheric forcing is something where we would really like to chip in the co-design of how that should look like. And there's other assets out there, like for instance, Future Earth Coast, which is presenting the science community and notably those who have been working quite a lot on the river and the catchment scale, which comes to mind. So we'd be happy to join that conversation. And I presume that what Jelena said about the MEP Barcelona Convention applies to several regional seas. It's important to see what it is that the regional seas individually, particularly, would like to focus on in terms of coastal zones and coastal transformation, which is very heterogeneous. And the recent meeting of the regional seas conventions and coordinators about 4 weeks ago on the Seychelles made that less clear. That was my comment. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Hartwig. Well noted. We will involve you in those discussions indeed.
Thank you, Hartwig. I don't see any raising hands in the audience. We still have roughly 10 minutes together, so do not hesitate to raise your hand. We are here to debate. Maybe for the time being, I'm coming back to Slido for a viewer question. Tony, please, which question do you want to answer?
Okay, so there is a question on does the time slide of the viewer allow to select a specific period? 730 days, 12 months, 48 hours, custom range. So I not sure about the question, if it's a question on filtering the data. So, for example, the need would be to select only the dataset covering the past 12 months or something like that. So in the catalog for the present moment, we cannot do that. It will be the next version of the catalog embedded in the viewer to be able to filter the dataset on a specific period. You will be able to fill the start date and end date, and it will filter all the dataset covering this period. For the time now, you have to check the temporal coverage of each data set, and the timeline of the viewer really allows you to select the time step for the viewing. So I hope it answers the question.
So maybe the participant who asked the question wants to open he or her his microphone and to add something, or is that okay? Not for the moment. So, guys, Dorothée Vincent raised her hand. Dorothée, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you. I did not ask the question, but I just had a comment to make, because on Ocean Viewer, for instance, when we want to visualize modeled data, for instance, we can't go back to long time period. We are limited to other periods. So that is hard to follow the timeline for certain products. This is, for instance, for the Mediterranean projects, the biogeochemistry model. And I wanted to know if this will be increased or improved in the future.
So it's a matter of temporal coverage of the data set you are visualizing. So it's a question of production of data So not really, I mean, the viewer just display all the temporal coverage of the data set. So the viewer does not limit the temporal coverage if there are data. If, for example, there is 20 years of data, the viewer will display the 20 years of data. So the question
Okay,
is
so I have
more...
to see with you because for the MED BFM3M model, it stops at 2020 and the reanalysis is set to 1999. So I will see with the team. So
Okay.
It's another product. I think there is a near real-time product and a reanalysis. So you have really to be careful selecting the real analysis and not the near real-time, because they have different temporal coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Muriel, Laurence, you want to add something? Is that okay?
No, I just wanted to add something to Dorothée. You were talking about a multi-year project and you have some difficulty to reach some data or, in the archive, or do you try to do it from the analysis product, which is different because the analysis product only have the last 1 year until the forecast. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mentioned. I just wanted to take the, well, I had the NetCDF file that I worked on, and I just wanted to visualize some of the data on the Copernicus service with the same layer, and it stopped at 2020. So I had a problem with that, just to check if my NetCDF importation was okay and if I had all the data. So I just wanted to check online and I just couldn't, so.
Okay, what I wanted to add is that the reanalysis, the multi-year reanalysis have some delays sometimes, but we are going to improve this because in the next evolution, we will reduce the gap between the last reanalysis and now.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Muriel. Thank you, Dorothée. I hope this answered your question. Irina Makarenko, sorry for the pronunciation. You are welcome to ask your question.
Thank you. It was also not a question, just a comment. I have some issues with internet, so apologies if something will go wrong. So I just wanted to support the ideas which were reflected by Yelena. It was, in fact, the same situation that we have in the Black Sea. Maybe ours is even worse because of the situation now. At the same time, we are also preparing the next report on the state of environment, and it would be very nice to continue our collaboration in that regard, but same challenges in terms of the formats and different compatibility of data. And also, I liked very much the initiatives of Hardwick. It was also, we discussed some time ago about the harmonization with the global system. So it would be very nice if we could also, harmonize our efforts, not only with all the European regional seas, but also with the UNEP, and to make it not to make our work double, so it could be all done all together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Irina, for this comment. Indeed, we will come back to you for concerning these format issues, and yes, we will collaborate with UNEP to have some efforts, harmonized efforts concerning all of this.
Thank you, Irina. Thank you, Muriel. Hardwick, you want to add something? All done? So, guys, I don't see any raised hands for the time being. So I would like to thank the audience and the lecturer for this initiative, for this event initiative concerning marine data for policies. I would like to tell you that the Slido is open and for 2 days until the 23rd of June. So feel free to ask all your questions. Soon we will provide you post-event reports with all the presentation slides, the replay of the webinar, sorry. And all the question and answers. So thank you very much.Maybe I give the floor to Muriel for the very conclusion. Thank you.
Yes, I will make a very short conclusion. So first of all, thank you very much for having participated to this webinar and to have popped your question. It's really interesting to have this interactive exchanges. It's really nice. So you can contact us, the service desk, or me, or any of the Mercator team, Tony as well. If you need further information, do not hesitate. So this is the end of this meeting. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you, Muriel. And I would like all the participants to open their camera for a last bye-bye all together. Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, hello.